Okay guys, we've got a bunch of does that we are going to breed in September, and we thought we would let you guys help us choose which buck to breed to which doe. But first, you really need to get to know each goat on the farm. So, well, let's just get started.
Tilly likes alfalfa and the dirt pile. She doesn't like when she breaks her legs and Zorro. Hazel likes alfalfa and staring at the back wall of the milking station. She doesn't like that cats exist. Tatum likes alfalfa and Tilly. And she doesn't like her teats being squished by Dad. Daphne likes alfalfa and screaming for no reason whatsoever. She doesn't like the shock collar. Olive likes alfalfa and the Grand Canyon, and she doesn't like origami. Raven likes alfalfa and all dogs except Salem, and she doesn't like Salem. Prim likes alfalfa and really long road trips. She doesn't like Oregon. Reba likes alfalfa and when the train goes toot toot. She doesn't like Adam Sandler. Dolly likes alfalfa and the Lord of the Rings. She doesn't like the possibility of nothing after death. Zorro likes alfalfa and small confined spaces. He doesn't like not breeding. Finnick likes alfalfa and Stouffer's lasagna. He doesn't like the United States medical system. Luna and Willow's lady parts don't work anymore, but here are some of their likes and dislikes. Luna likes alfalfa and her Wednesday Pilates class. She doesn't like problematic men. Willow likes alfalfa and walking around on her knees. She doesn't like NASA's lies.
Alright, now that you guys know their real personality traits, I'm gonna go over all the different body traits, and so we can make the best choices when it comes to pairing up these does with these bucks. Now, originally I thought that I would put everybody with Finnick because I thought Finnick would have the best genetics, and so let's just pour those genetics into every doe here on the farm. But now that Zorro's thickening up and looking pretty good, and now that I see his offspring Raven looking really nice, I'm wondering if we shouldn't use him again. So let's go over their different body types. Alright guys, first up is Tilly. Now I should just say that all of these different traits that I'm focusing on all have to do with the health and longevity of the goats, not necessarily just looks. I used to think that that's what showing goats was for, but I've since learned that it's all about producing a goat that can not break down so quickly, like many of our goats have. And I think it's really interesting to try to improve goats. It's fascinating, the genetics behind it all, so we're gonna give it a go, and you guys tell me what you think. Now Tilly is one of our original does on the farm, so she's sort of our foundation doe. And she has quite a few positives, but a few things that we need to work on. First off, Tilly is very wide. She's really wide in what we call her escutcheon, which is the very top of that udder. And if they're wide up there and in their rump, they usually have a lot easier kiddings. And Tilly does. She never usually needs that much help. She's a little doe, but she can pop out those babies no problem. So we love that about our Tilly. The cons are she's a little bit short. So she's short-bodied, she has a shorter neck, so she's just sort of a smaller doe in general. She also could have a little bit better mammary system. At first glance, her teats are okay, and the little U shape that we're looking for at the top looks pretty good, but she doesn't have very much of a rear udder, which means she doesn't have a lot of capacity in the rear part of her udder. Most of that capacity is in the fore udder, and that's reflected in how much milk she produces. So she does average, but I wouldn't say that she comes from high producing milking lines. So with Tilly, we want to produce better mammary system, and we want to produce a longer doe, a little bit of a taller doe with a longer neck. Now Tatum is Tilly's daughter, and you can see quite a few differences between them. Tatum's sire, Moonrider, brought in a lot of interesting new genetics into the mix, and so Tatum is very long and has a nice long neck, and she blends well from her neck to her withers, down into her chine and loin and throughout her rump. So she's very smoothly blended. Tatum is funny because she has these short little legs, but she's nice and long. So I don't know if she would be considered very well balanced, but that's not as important as her mammary system. Oof, it needs some work. Now, Tilly also had a tiny udder her first year, so I'm hoping that that's just what it is in Tatum and that next year her udder will be a lot bigger. But basically we want a nice capacious udder, one that has more rear udder capacity and, well, just capacity in general. But she has a beautiful brisket, and she often places high when we take her to shows. In fact, she won Grand Champion as a junior and also Best in Show. So she has a lot going for her. We just really need that mammary system to kick it into high gear. So remember that when we decide which buck to pair her with. Okay, I love a lot of things about Hazel. She has that beautiful smooth blending through her neck to her withers. She's very upstanding, so her neck extends really high, and she has a decent brisket. But the thing I would say about Hazel is probably just back to her mammary system. She produces average, but she doesn't have those really high attachments. She doesn't have a very wide escutcheon or rump, so she's a little bit more narrow. So we want to bring in some more width, and then just mainly those attachments around the mammary system, around the udder. It would be nice if they could be a little higher and tighter on the lateral attachments, and we're gonna hopefully pair her with a buck that can help do that. Now Daphne. She's probably the best one of all that we have. Now this is her as a 1-year-old, so she still has some developing to do, and I expect her to become more smoothly blended and to get a little bit more depth of body. Now Daphne has a very capacious udder, but I feel that she needs better attachments that hold that capacity into place. And also a little bit smoother blending in her fore udder would be better. It would help hold it up and help keep that capacity high and tight so that it doesn't sag down more as she gets older and then drag on the ground or get injured or anything like that. But otherwise, Daphne looks great. I love Olive for so many reasons. She has beautiful body depth, that nice wedge shape. What you want to see is where you start at the brisket and then you go down towards the belly. You want to see that beautiful angle. And she's definitely proof that a goat with more body depth produces more milk because they can eat more hay and process it more. So Olive definitely produces double than all the other does on the farm. So she has the best milking lines. She just needs some help in the attachment department. So Olive's sort of an oddball because her dam, her sire's dam, all of the grand dams all have beautiful, well-attached udders. She just sort of had this fluke happen where she didn't seem to get that gene. So what we're going to do is instead of just moving on from her, we're going to give it a go and see if we can try to improve the attachments in that udder because she does have those genes. So I'm hoping that they're hiding right behind and hopefully if we pair her with the right buck, we can get a beautiful, well-attached udder with lots of capacity. And then we'll have all the other body traits that we love so much about Olive. Moving on to the babies. Now Raven's the oldest baby, so we're definitely going to breed her this year. She's looking good, she's growing well, and she is actually Tilly's daughter as well. So it's interesting to compare Raven with Tatum and see how different they look. Raven is just long and wide and smooth and beautiful. She is Zorro's offspring, and I'm so excited about her because she's our homebred doe that just looks phenomenal. So we can hope that she has a little bit better udder than Tilly. Now Raven has to be bred with Finnick because her dad is Zorro, so that's kind of a no-brainer. Now Prim. I love Prim. She looks great. She's still young, so she's got some growing to do, and she's got some amazing well-attached udders in her genetics. So that's what we're hoping for. This first year breeding her, we're not as concerned with who we're breeding her with. We're more concerned with wanting to see her udder. And hopefully it's one that performs really well, looks really good, and has that well-attached, mammary system like we're hoping for. Now Dolly. Dolly is so adorable, but when it comes to Dolly and Reba, they seem like a little bit of wild cards to me. I can't put my eye exactly on what is good or what is bad about them because they seem to change day to day so much as they're growing. I'm just hoping that we can get a little bit of improvement on those attachments in them, since their sire, both Dolly and Reba's sire, is Napoleon, and his dam had really great attachments. So we're gonna see. We're gonna give it a go, breed them, and see what happens. All right, so with Zorro, as you guys know, he's just sort of a slow grower. He comes from really great dairy genetics, which is why I wanted him in the first place. And so we'll see what Raven, his daughter, looks like when she has an udder. Zorro has some great mammary systems behind him, so that's what I'm hoping he'll produce here in his babies. When it comes to Finnick, I would say that his strength comes from just being very structurally correct throughout. So very well balanced. His dam has a beautiful udder and is a really high producer, and his sire comes from a long line of really high show wins. So it'll be interesting to see what he produces and what his babies look like. So we're gonna put a poll down in the description below. You can click on it and you can pair everybody the way that you think they should be paired. We're gonna see what everybody votes for, and then we'll make a final decision. If you wanna see a compilation of all the breeding pairing that we've done over the years, go ahead and click right here.